So what is a niche market? I define it, and this is not an economics textbook, this is the John Rechtman textbook. A niche market is a market with low demand, but even lower supply, which keeps transaction volumes minimal, so buyers and sellers have trouble finding one another. The price is high because demand is higher than supply. And boutiques make a lot of sense. It makes sense to build this beautiful little brand, word of mouth. There's no reason to have like a big platform in a small market because there's just not enough transaction volume to justify the upfront investment. So you have a little niche that, man, these are really hair trigger things. Next, okay. So here's an example of a couple of niche products and services. Before Uber, before Didi, private limousines were a niche market. You'd see the guys standing out to the chauffeurs at the airport, and you'd be like, who really uses those? I mean, there were some people that use them, but low demand, even lower supply. It used to be really expensive, not a lot of business being done. Boutique services, you'd have limousine companies, right? And none of it never made sense to scale to a larger platform. Conference interpreting, this is what I did for most of the 10 years from like 2008 until very recently, maybe 7 years. I spent most of my time doing simultaneous interpreting in the booth at conferences, World Economic Forum, big government things. A lot of fun, great niche business. You don't need a ton of simultaneous interpreters, but the truth is there are even less really qualified ones. We can charge a lot of money. I would like to offer a contrarian kind of statement that venture capital is, or was, a niche business. The world does not have that much demand for venture capital, for highly risky long-term unicorn bets, or it didn't until pretty recently. Fortunately, there was even less supply of money that would take really risky unicorn bets. And so the price of venture capital was very high. Transaction volume was very limited. Buyers and sellers would have to struggle a lot to find one another. And VCs were essentially boutiques. They were little brand first, word of mouth, reputation brokers of capital and enterprise. Now, why is your market fucked? Why is your beautiful little niche baby about to be fucked? Because of the Buddha. Not because of the Buddha. Because everything changes, right? It's this truth about the universe that nothing remains without change. Change is the only constant, and that leads us. Wait, is this really the next slide? Let me get another one. Okay, and then we'll go back to that one. So the framework that I have for kind of change in the universe is not change in the universe, change in your niche market, is some macro factor, some macro trend descends upon your niche. It has nothing to do with niche, it has nothing to do with you, it just, shit happens, man. It's technology, or it's culture, or it is just markets, or it's global trends, geopolitics. These are bigger things than any of us control, but they totally fuck our niches. But they fuck them in like really cool, positive ways, which are, an X factor is introduced, and the X factor drives the demand up. Rising demand increases the prices, and that increases the social status and visibility of the niche. Can we go back to the previous slide? So what happens in, on a technology introduction, the rise of sharing economy, somewhere between a tech innovation and a business model innovation. So the sharing economy increases the demand for private drivers through the roof. Regional integration, global economic globalization, increased trade and investment between China and the US raises the demand for simultaneous interpreters. I wrote distributed finance. That's not actually the right trend. The right trend here is I would say actually more cultural than financial, the Silicon Valley founder myth, the entrepreneur virus that I really liked, the entrepreneurial virus that you talked about. That infected millions of people and drastically increased the demand for venture capital. So 2 slides now. Okay. Nature abhors a vacuum. with that higher demand, oh, and I forgot to say the social status and visibility. Venture capital, like 20 years ago, it existed, but nobody heard of it because it wasn't cool. It was when everybody wanted venture capital that all of a sudden the VCs held all the cards, they were super sexy, William's the fucking man, everybody wants to know the VC, right? The social status and visibility of it raises. The same was true with interpreters. A couple years ago in China, there was a lot of talk about, honestly, like how much simultaneous interpreters would make. The Chinese like put out TV shows, 翻译官, movie The Interpreter, like it became briefly a cultural phenomenon, and supply went through the roof. They started opening up translation programs all around China. Tens of thousands of young people studying to get into this profession. Same, of course, with venture capital. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys how many new funds have been opened in the last 10 years. Total, like, rush of supply comes near a glut. As supply comes up, the prices start to drop. That brings new buyers into the market. So we have like this little internal combustion, cycle. A macro trend starts it off, demand goes up, prices go up, new supply is attracted into the market, prices stabilize, new buyers enter the market, and where we wind up is demand and supply are now much, much higher than they were just a couple of years ago. Prices start to stabilize. Transaction volume increases. This is no longer a boutique market, it's becoming a commodity. Platforms emerge. Your niche is fucked. The chauffeur business is not a business anymore. Who the fuck is going to call a limousine company to get a private car? I don't want to say, like, to a large extent, I first invested in and then joined the management team of Cadence. I wasn't originally the founder. I invested in it as a simultaneous interpreter because I wanted to eat my own lunch. My investment was a hedge against this company turning my boutique service that I commanded a very respectable lifestyle business out of. It was going to turn into a commodity. I could see the writing on the wall. More and more demand, more and more supply. Prices are starting to hover a lot lower. I'm competing with thousands of young interpreter. I had no interest in this in what was a boutique turning into a rat race. I put the Bitcoin sign. Look, I'm an absolute crypto hater. I fuck up all your ICOs. I hate them all. But another way to look at, it's not just Bitcoin. It's not just cryptocurrency. It's not just ICOs. It's also crowd equity funding. It's a whole new universe of alternative funding platforms that are meant to disintermediate the venture capitalists. Not because VCs are bad, but just because it's a boutique and there is enough supply and enough demand, both of capital and of entrepreneurship now, that boutique model doesn't work. It's platform time. So, endgame is platform beats your platform wins the market. The platforms always beat the boutiques because they have the information advantage on both sides. They know how much buyers are willing to pay, they know how much suppliers are willing to accept, and they will extract every cent of the value in between. They take all of the arbitrage out of the deal, which typically in a boutique market, the supply side, it's a sell side, it's a seller's market, and the supply side gets to capture that arbitrage value. Now it's the platform. So, a platform ain't your niche. What are you going to do about it? Well, I'm 8 minutes, so I'm not even going to tell you what you're going to do about it. You guys figure it out yourself. 8 minutes, thanks guys.